It's time now for the Success is Subjective podcast. Here is your host and therapeutic consultant for young adults only, Joanna Lilley.
Hi, and welcome to the show. Today, my guest is Molly Powrie. Molly started working in therapeutic programming in 2013, working with adults struggling with addiction and co-occurring mental health disorders. Since then, Molly has made it her career to specialize in the personal and academic needs of young adults who have encountered social and psychological struggles, ultimately affecting their ability to maintain success. She has worked continuously with young adults seeking additional support navigating addiction, depression, anxiety, and other neurodivergence. Molly earned her bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Oregon and a master's degree from George Mason University, specifically the Carter School for Peace and Conflict Resolution, with a focus area in inclusive conflict engagement. In addition to her years in therapeutic programming, Molly spent 5 years at UC Santa Barbara, serving students who needed additional support during their academic careers. Prior to Skyline Recovery, Molly was serving as the admissions director at a young adult transition therapeutic program. Now, as the Admissions and Business Development Director at Skyline Recovery, Molly's primary focus is connecting with potential families, clients, and referring professionals, offering support and exploring what Skyline can provide based on individual experiences and needs. So let's get to the interview with Molly now on today's edition of Success is Subjective. Molly, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Thanks for carving out some time to sit down and chat with me all the way from Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yay! Okay, so I think I know we've had conversations about this before because we both worked in higher education and work with college students, and there's a lot of we've just had conversations about kind of this launching into adulthood population, but I don't think everybody necessarily knows your story. So if you feel comfortable kind of just kicking us right off, where did you actually grow up, and then what was the information that you were kind of given, or I don't know the word. Let me back up. What was the information that you were kind of hearing from your family and where you were raised about kind of what you were supposed to do after high school?
Yeah. So I grew up in Oregon. I spent a little bit of my elementary years in Bend, and then I moved to Hood River, Oregon, which is a really small town on the Oregon-Washington border. And I think about this a lot. I think there was just an implied prospect of me going to college, right? That it was something that we were kind of expected to do, both expected of ourselves. I have 5 siblings, so we all kind of got the same message of college is after high school. And I think that was, especially for my family, was really ingrained. Education is very important in my family. My grandparents had some college education, which is a little bit more rare. My parents were both attorneys, and then there was just a lot of education as a high regard in my family. So it was never told that if I didn't go to college, it wouldn't be something that was a bad thing, but that just wasn't part of the conversation. There was a lot of implicit messaging. And so I ended up going to college. And I also got, because of the folks I was surrounded with, I was kind of blessed to be around really, really smart young women in my friend group in high school, all who went to incredible 4-year colleges. And so I was actually felt like the one that was a little bit behind going to state school. So that was my experience.
Well, and just kind of hearing that too, right? It's all about perspective, which I love. And we can chuckle about that right now because it's that state school probably gave you a really awesome education and launched you towards some sort of post young adult, launching into adulthood path that obviously you meandered through to where you are now, which is, again, we're going to talk about it, but in a good place, right? That's where you are. And so, okay, just quick questions, kind of veering off a little bit. when you went to said state school, did you actually, did you ever change your major? How was the experience? Kind of just talk us through those college years and a little bit beyond. And let's start to organically make our way towards how you got to where you are now.
Yeah. So I made that self-deprecating joke, which is my style, but I actually chose to go to state school so that I could go to grad school because I wanted to be a forensic psychologist. So I went to undergrad knowing that if I saved that money and got my psychology bachelor's degree, that then I could go to graduate school right away and then kind of move on through and still have money left over or save to go and do that. And so I never change my major. I went into college knowing that I wanted my psychology degree, never changed it, put a ton of pressure on myself to not have kind of a free moment. So I had internships and classes and I finished in 3 years, and I ended up getting a job after I got an internship after college and got kind of a taste of that 9-to-5 life and was like, this is what I need. I need something that ends at the end of the day and I can focus on being social or having some time to relax, because in college, there's always something else to do, right? There's reading to do. So there's kind of a culminating moment where I thought, this is embarrassing to talk about now. I thought I was going to go and get my joint PhD JD degree, which they only offer at 4 schools in America. And I'm
over here just dying.
I know.
Let's talk about self-deprecation. You got your bachelor's in 3 years. Did you actually sleep?
No, not well. And my mental health was not good, but I was determined to help other people with theirs. So, qualified. But yeah, I was taking an LSAT prep course, and amongst my 20 credits and my internships, and I went in to take the practice test, and I just couldn't make myself do it. I was like, I'm not going to do it. I didn't go. And I ended up after that deciding I was going to wait a little bit and explore this internship that was going to give me a little bit more of a 9-to-5. And then also started into the working world after that in the therapeutic programming world. And so that's kind of how I jumped into working here and working with young adults. But I'll pause there. I know that was a lot of information.
Well, I think you just spotlighted an important piece that you had to make an executive decision at a certain point. Here is my tunnel vision, right? I am not meant to be offensive, but it was just this was your drive. Here's what I'm doing. Here's the plan. And then all of a sudden, like you said, that taste of the 9-to-5, you realize, oh, I can actually breathe. I can go out. I don't have to take work home. This is amazing. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's almost this subconscious, your body, mind and body pushing you to saying hey, Molly, maybe now is okay to slow down.
Yeah.
Maybe the path that you're on, it's not going anywhere. You can still pursue it, but maybe for this exact moment, maybe we just need to pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm sure there were people telling me that. I don't remember that, of course, but I'm sure there were people worried and kind of geez, take a break once in a while.
You might have blocked that out.
Yeah, I can't. That feedback was not welcome at that time. But yeah, so it was a big side, doing this internship. It was 4 credit. And so I was still in school, but it wasn't homework, there wasn't reading. I was working toward being a substance abuse counselor, so I was getting my CADC. And so I was doing that kind of double dipping and getting hours for that and getting credit. And so I got the taste of, I clocked out, and I was the intern, so they didn't expect me to be on call or available. And so that was a really nice life living here in Bend and kind of enjoying having a social life and being 21. at the time. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So, and we know this because we both work with young adults, specifically in kind of treatment or therapeutic environments. And so Bend is a little bit, although it's a small town, it's a hotbed for resources that are there, which is actually, Bend's a cool place to be. So it's no wonder that there are programs in that area. So why don't you kind of just talk a little bit about some of those experiences, maybe leading to where you are?
Sure. So the internship that I had that then I stayed and did a little bit of time there was a 18 and older primary substance detox and primary substance use residential treatment. And so I was there. It was only 18 and older. So our average age definitely trended toward probably 50s and 60s, I would say. But it was a big span. And it was I learned a lot, but it also was really difficult to be someone kind of freshly in the field, not in recovery myself, having people trust and want to confide in, which I know we've talked about before, but it's been something that was very eye-opening. And then also I understood why people wouldn't want me as like their young counselor with not a lot of what they felt were shared experiences, although I would beg to differ in some ways. And so I ended up working at College Excel, which was here in town in Bend. It's no longer around, but I started working in admissions there, and that was young adult only. So young adult learning difference, ASD support for college, the colleges here. And so started doing that and really loved the admissions and marketing side of it. I was also a life coach. In this time, it's important to identify that I figured out that I was a very directive personality, which doesn't quite bode well with a therapist, which I thought I was going to be. So I had that practice of being a therapist, and some of it comes into life coaching, but I was one that was more of a direction, action-oriented type, which is not the kind of thesis of therapy. And so I shifted a little bit more toward the admissions and marketing and coaching world. So,
and that's what you're doing now. It sounds like you've you had the opportunity to kind of, here you are dipping your toe into kind of the first job post college and internship, and you're getting to try out a lot of different things, even though, with that baseline in psychology, it gives you an opportunity to just want to be in a space or an environment where you're working with somebody that is there because they want some type of support, right? Mental health, like you said, learning differences, substance abuse, regardless of the actual environment. It's just that's kind of the natural or inherent drive. If we're going through psychology, we're curious about humans and how to help them. And so obviously now you're in a completely different realm doing admissions and marketing, which is typically in a college setting that falls under the business world, which when we're talking about people that are direct, if you are a direct person, business is a great place for you to be in. Yeah. But now you get kind of the best of, the best of all the world. So obviously you liked it enough where you're still kind of doing it. So can you give us anything I'm going to ask a little bit off script. If you could give your younger self any advice, knowing what you know today, is there anything you would have, any advice you would give?
Yeah, I think I would have probably give the advice that I was being given that I blocked out, which was, enjoy what is going on, this opportunity, whatever it is you're making for yourself, make sure that you're slowing down and enjoying it. It's not something to just get through and move on to the next phase. But I think that's the hardest part, is there's so much unspoken pressure or, for our young adults in this world now, knowing that I look back at who I'm working with now and look back at myself is, it feels like what everyone else is doing. And so you're feeling like a sense of being behind, and it's just not true. But that would be the advice, albeit maybe falling on deaf ears. It's hard to hear when you're in it, in the thick of it.
Spoken by a true person in those exact shoes. Hey, take this advice, but I know you're not going to take it because I was not receptive to it back then.
You can integrate it later. when you're much older.
Just put this in your back pocket for later.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be my advice.
I think that's great advice. I'm sorry. I'm being cheeky right now because it's you, and I so appreciate you. I want to spotlight what you're doing now. So you just kind of highlighted it, right? Like business, like in the business arm of kind of the therapeutic space. So doing admissions, marketing, outreach, that kind of stuff, because that's what you are doing now still. And so can you talk a little bit about kind of how you ended up where you are now and what exactly are you doing?
Yeah. So there was a little bit of an interim where I worked in higher education, like you mentioned at the beginning. I worked in like student mental health conduct, which was the two worlds, two different offices, but case management for folks that people were worried about in college. So I even more think about like the advice I was giving as a staff member, and that was falling on deaf ears, but getting people connected to support. So that piece has really been kind of a thread through of working with young adults after my first instance. So then pandemic times hit. It was wild. And we came back to Oregon from California. And I was again working as admissions director for a young adult program in Oregon, and was ready for a change, was ready to come back closer to Bend, which I feel like is home for me. And Patrick, co-founder of Skyline Recovery, called me earnestly to ask me if I knew anyone in admissions that wanted a job. And I said, oh yeah, I want that job. Like, can I have it? And so we talked a lot about it. We were really thoughtful about me kind of entering into the space that was Skyline's very small at the time, not a lot of staff, that I was going to be an addition to, and also jumping back into the world of substance use disorders. So, which I had, of course, have been a theme for young adults this whole entire time, was part of what I was dealing with, but wasn't the sole kind of audience that I was working with. And that also has changed a little bit over the year and a half I've been here. We're co-occurring, sometimes mental health primary at Skyline. So that's been something that I think, really enjoyed adjusting back to and brushing off that CADC that expired long ago.
Hearing kind of what you're doing now, and again, the thread throughout kind of how some things have come full circle, I'm just kind of curious from your perspective, also thinking back to the person that was like literally going to do a joint PhD JD program, which just sounds torturous coming off of my tongue, let alone actually participating in. I can't imagine. But I'm just kind of curious, how you were envisioning yourself and what was to come, and like what you viewed as successful coming from a family that really pushes post-secondary education, not because it's like alternatives aren't an option. It's just, going to college. That's what you have to do. Do you see yourself and what you're doing right now as successful?
I knew you were going to ask this. And I mean, my answer is yes, in many ways. I think it took me a long time to let go of what I had plotted for so long, right? And I did go back to grad school. I didn't mention that in my story, but I did go back and got my master's of science in conflict analysis and resolution and inclusive conflict engagement. And it was less painful than a JD PhD, that's for sure. But it took me I took a break. It was probably like 4 or 5 years until I went back. And so that felt like, for a while, it felt like I was not fulfilling what I wanted to do, and really letting go of this like rigidity that I was giving myself for really no reason. And what I can reflect back on now is that what I wanted to do as a forensic psychologist was going to take a decade till I had the degree. And then it was going to take another decade until there was what felt like a difference that I could make. I had done interviews with forensic psychologists. There was a lot, you have to do a lot of time in the trenches, which is totally fine, but it's also not exactly what people get into that world for. And so I felt like I could make this trade of, I can do this work now. I can start now, and I can talk with families and with young adults and with, different professionals in this world and make a difference. And I think that's where I really can reconcile with myself of that. Yes, what I'm doing is successful. I get to have fun every day. I get to make a difference every day. Every day is different, which I think is really important, and at least for me and my learning style. But sometimes it feels, there's that comparative quality. And I know it happens for the young men that I work with of like, well, looking at what other people are doing, or looking at what, your friends who are in college are doing, and maybe you're taking a break. And so I think that, comparison is the thief of joy is really true and very human for us to kind of understand our place and how we're functioning. So short answer, yes, I do feel that way, with its seeds of doubt sometime. And then also that it's, very clear to me that I'm getting to make a difference.
You mean you're human?
I know.
Just
yeah.
Shocking. Human,
yeah.
Non-narcissistic or egotistical human.
Yeah. No, it's been a bit of a journey, of course, like it is for everyone. But it's been very interesting and its twists and turns, but kind of stayed in this world of young adult. And now I was telling someone the other day that I left 18 and older because I felt like I wasn't old enough. And now I'm kind of waiting for the day where I get too old to work with young adults. And they say, we can't relate to you anymore. Old lady, get out of here. So I might have to pivot soon. So if you have any roles, let me know.
Where would you pivot to? Like older adults? This is like a little off script, but
no, I'm just kidding.
Clearly I'm not like pushing you to move jobs, but
no, I don't have any plans to pivot, but it is funny to think about kind of getting niche into young adults as you are yourself, and then wondering when the day will come. Like, there was a lot of, as I wanted to do these career things of like, well, you're not quite old enough yet, or, you can be the coordinator, but not the director. And you can, that kind of stuff. And it's about age. And I was like, when will I be old enough? And then someone called me ma'am in Texas. And I felt like maybe it was the time that I was too old.
Last question, because I feel like it's kind of on par with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Knowing that life you have wandered through your young adult into adulthood journey. Some of it obviously was on the path that you originally anticipated. Some of it was kind of a little bit off. No, I don't want to say off track, but just off-roading, which is fun. And then you eventually get back to where you're going, or maybe that's the new route that you're headed on. I'm just curious from your perspective if there is any personal goals that you have, personal, professional, that you're like, here's something that maybe someday I will be interested in pursuing, which just kind of plants the seed that like we as humans are constantly trying to make decisions that is welcoming change. Change is good. Jobs change, roles change, life takes you different places. Obviously I am asking you a question that I did not front load you with. And so this might be a double flick off kind of a situation where Molly's like, I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to do it.
No, it's a great question. I did not think about it. So in my career, I had a supervisor refer to me as professionally restless. And this was in the higher ed sphere. So there's a lot of kind of stock put into longevity in higher ed over, what you bring into the table or talent or difference making. And so that to me was something that at first I was kind of, I think it was meant to be a simmer down kind of thing. But right now I think of it as I have been pretty professionally restless in my life and, moved around a little bit, which is a bit of a millennial thing and is okay. And the boomer generation doesn't agree, but I think my goals for myself are to slow down and not have a lot of these overarching things that feel like I need to check a box or move into the next direction, really trying to like become a master of my craft and find the ease that comes with that when there's a lot of fun and adrenaline in doing something new and starting a new job or doing, a new credential or accreditation or whatever it is. But I think there's a lot that comes with slowing down and being okay with figuring out like what you're really good at and what you want to do and how you want to feel every day. So knowing what I've shared with you of like, I was going to do this and that and this and that. And a lot of it I've done. I think the piece is slowing down, but not becoming complacent or too comfortable too. So adding in some discomfort in there as well, being bad at stuff, starting at stuff and being bad at it, I think is a big thing I need to work on. I think I'm going to take a pottery class and be bad at it.
Love it.
And I'll send it to you.
It is my token of appreciation for being a podcast guest, right? Like this is for you.
This is for you.
Here's your discomfort. I feel like that's straight out of a Leap Year movie quote where it's almost like you're saying, I want like the plans that I want to make are to not make plans with you. Like that's the translation. Obviously, I'm not like a movie buff, but like as you were talking, that's all I thought about was like, it's not that you're like you said, you're complacent. It's just that you're intentionally like trying to slow things down and enjoy life, because there were times in your life where you're blowing through so fast that you didn't have the opportunity to actually like stop and enjoy it. So I think that's some great advice. That's a great way to end this interview. I'm so excited that you took the time to actually be a guest and take the time and just chat with me. And we'll make sure that any contact information for you and Skyline specifically will be in the show notes. And I encourage anybody that's listening to reach out. Molly is equally as approachable in real life as she is as this guest. If anything, I would actually say that she's reined it in a little bit for this interview. And I encourage people to really see all her stripes.
I can't be scaring the audience. I can't be the reason why people are like, Joanna, who are your guests? Like, what is going on? So, yes, I did tone it down a little.
Thank you. Thank you again.
That's it for this week's Success is Subjective episode. We want to thank our guests for joining Joanna on the show this week and for being willing to share your journey. This podcast would not exist if it weren't for people such as yourself. Stay tuned for our next episode, where you can bet it'll be another amazing human sharing their personal story with the world. Make sure you check out the show notes, where you will find contact information, website details, and all social media for our guest. Put a face with a voice by accessing their interview on the newly formed successissubjective.org website. If you are interested in being a guest on the podcast, you can email Joanna at joanna@successissubjective.org. Be sure to check out the collegealternative.org and lilyconsulting.com websites for additional resources outside of podcasting. If you are listening to the show on Apple Podcasts, please subscribe to the show. And while you're at it, feel free to leave a review. You can also download to listen to the Success is Subjective podcast on other popular podcast apps, such as Audible, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. Last but not least, Success is Subjective is listener-supported, made possible by our team and by you. You can support this podcast by joining the Patreon community at patreon.com/successissubjective. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, there is no single path through life. Success is what you make it.
Do you have a teenager or young adult who seems to have lost their way? Maybe they need help navigating adolescence, adulthood, and decisions surrounding higher education. Or maybe they have become withdrawn, their grades are slipping, or they are flat out living a reckless lifestyle, and you're concerned about their health and well-being. If this describes what your teen or young adult is facing, a therapeutic consultant may be able to help. Mental health, addiction recovery, and higher education can all be equally expensive. While information is everywhere, how do you know what option is the best one for your family? Some parents have the time to research and navigate this on their own. Some don't. If the latter applies to you, Enter therapeutic consultants. Therapeutic consultants, like Joanna, listen to your family's specific needs and advocate on behalf of your loved one. TCs will research therapeutic resources, recommend treatment programs, and assist during adulthood transitions. Not being affiliated with any program, their support is completely objective and catered toward the best interest of each unique family. To find a qualified therapeutic consultant to work with, check out TCA, also known as the Therapeutic Consulting Association. Their website is therapeuticconsulting.org, all one word. Again, that's therapeuticconsulting.org. Then click the Find a Pro tab up at the top.